This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Things are, as I mentioned, just so heated with everything going on in this political climate. And that's why I think it's dangerous that Governor Kathy Hochul put out this message, her team did, saying, you know what, here is where Lee Zeldin's going to be. Go after Big Lie Lee Zeldin, as she calls him, tied to Trump. She's doing everything she can to tie him to President Trump. And the campaign puts out this message and says, here is where the Big Lie Lee kicks off his statewide MAGA Republican bus tour. Here is his schedule. And basically show up at the schedule. I mean, to me, going after his big lies, misinformation, his, quote, far-right agenda, it was in a campaign email. And here are all the stops during his bus tour. And here is where he'll be joined by, quote, top anti-abortion advocates, NRA enthusiasts, and a cast of extremist groups. We're encouraging you basically to show up. I mean, that is scary, scary stuff. And then this guy shows up last night and attacks Lee Zeldin, and again, only gets charged with attempted second-degree assault, and he's already out. Boy, what a mess our judicial system is, and our political process, too. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Christopher in Vermont. Christopher, you're here on the Rita Cosby Show. Your thoughts about this? And I don't think it's an alleged. I don't think it's a attempted second-degree assault. It's an assault. What do you make of the fact the charges and the guy is free?
Oh, it's breathtaking. I mean, who was the guy that shot Lincoln at Ford Theater in 1865?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. What's your point? That it was that an alleged...
If he had missed his mark,
right,
would he have been charged with attempted assault?
Yeah, and probably, by the way, sadly, if it had happened in New York, actually, you're right, that was down in D.C., which is pretty similar, sadly, with Muriel Bowser and the team there. But if it had happened in New York, Christopher, can you imagine? They'd be like, oh, he seemed like such a nice young man. Let's release him. He's just because he's a bad shot, that would be, quote, a second. They'd probably lower it to a third degree, and they'd probably honor him in a parade. The way things are going these days in New York, sadly, if it happened in New York, Christopher. But that's a great point, and that's why I say to you, if you look at the video, you see Lee Zeldin grabbing the guy's wrist. And Lee was on with me. I was on with Cats at Night, a great show in WABC. And I was there earlier with John Katzmatidis. We interviewed Lee Zeldin talking about it, but he literally grabbed the guy's wrist, and you can see it in the video. He sees the guy has a weapon, something in his hand. Lee is a military guy, so he sees the guy's hand, grabs his wrist, sees he's got a weapon in his hand, holds that wrist really firm until other people come and basically knock the guy down. I mean, you see the whole thing. So you're right, just because the guy, didn't get lucky and go after Lee in his mind, in his crazy mind, because he got stopped, thank goodness. It's just a small, minor offense. What is happening to America, Christopher?
I don't know. It's breathtaking. Lee apparently was in the 82nd Airborne Division, and thank God he was, because he could see an attack coming towards him and he could deflect it. But being charged with an attempted assault when you're doing it, it's breathtaking. It
is breathtaking, and the fact that the guy is out and he's clearly a troubled individual. I mean, that's the other thing too. If you look at it, the guy is clearly just, has a screw loose. He's obviously he's got issues. There's word that he's a veteran, maybe PTSD, obviously has some problems. This is not a guy who should be walking free if he felt so free to go up on stage and try to almost kill a U.S. member of Congress and a gubernatorial candidate. This is not the kind of person who should be out under any circumstance. It's clear he is mentally deranged, and it's clear he should be behind bars. And for his own good, too, by the way, too, and certainly for others, first and foremost. Christopher, thank you very much. And we are sadly talking about the attack on Congressman Lee Zeldin's life, who is running for New York governor on the GOP side against Kathy Hochul. The guy out because he was only charged with attempted second-degree assault, and he's out already because it's such a minor thing. Take a listen to Lee Zeldin talking about the whole system is broken in New York and many other states across this country.
It's extremely important for us in the state of New York to have a repeal of cashless bail and giving judges discretion to weigh dangerousness and flight risk and past criminal record and seriousness of the offense on far more offenses, and also to make sure that no judges are being so lenient that in certain cases where you absolutely need to keep somebody behind bars, that you don't have any judge putting one of those people back out on the streets, as we saw with the Goldman Sachs employee who was murdered a couple months ago on the subway in Staten Island, where in that case the prosecutor did ask for bail. It was a bail-eligible offense, but the lenient judge, who was proud of being lenient, released that person, and then they went out and committed the murder. So this overhaul is long overdue. It needs to get done to protect safety in New York.
Absolutely, and to protect everybody. And the fact that a member of Congress who is running for governor can't be protected. I mean, obviously he's beefing up his security now, but that he can't just campaign and speak out about his views, that he has to be now worried about some crazy person coming on stage. What have we come to? My goodness. Let's go to George in Long Beach on line 3. George, your thoughts?
Hi, Rita. I saw somebody interviewed today on Fox that went behind the stage, came up on the stage, and grabbed this guy just as he was attacking Zeldin. And I don't know why he doesn't get any credit for what he did, but he was the guy that took this guy down. And he said he did have mental issues, but to me that doesn't matter. What matters to me is nobody's talking about the fact that Kathy Hochul said when SCOTUS struck down that racist law about showing a need to carry in New York, she said that SCOTUS stripped her of all of her tools to keep her citizens safe. My question is, what tools were you using and where were you using them?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I'm going to let you answer this. Answer this on the air, because I'm going to lose my Bluetooth. It's going dead.
Okay, repeat the question again, George. It was dropping off a little bit.
Yeah.
Repeat the question again.
What tools was she using and where? She said SCOTUS stripped her of her tools to keep her citizens safe.
Right. Well,
she struck down the gun law.
Right. Well, she's referring to that. She's referring to a lot of things because remember, in that decision, they basically said that more people can, carry weapons, that conceal carry, that they don't have to necessarily show that they are in, quote, imminent danger and be able to show that there are direct threats. In other words, it gave law-abiding citizens, again, only law-abiding citizens who have the right to carry a gun under the Second Amendment, they don't have to show that they're under like an enormous threat and an enormous danger to be able to justify why they have a weapon, that they're allowed to carry a weapon, which a lot of people feel is the right decision, especially at a time where New York is dealing with skyrocketing crime. She, of course, turned it and said that it stripped her rights. In other words, that, the high court overrode her because it's the highest court in the land. It's the Supreme Court. And that's why she felt that that it restricted her ability. But, this is crazy. That is the Democratic talking point. Of course, the Republicans say this was an enormous victory for the Constitution and for Second Amendment rights. It's all subject to interpretation. It's, it's different points of view there. The other hand, too, you brought up this other guy. And by the way, after the break, I'm going to play his comments because I'm glad you brought up the other guy in the Lee Zeldin case, George, because his name is Joe Chenley, and he's with AmVets, which was the group that was actually hosting Lee Zeldin. And he said that he saw the guy get on the stage and thought, oh, this is kind of odd, like didn't know he was going to attack him, but sort of stood nearby. He's also a veteran as well. And you're right, he gave a very powerful interview. I saw that interview earlier today on Fox, and boy, that guy was the guy who really decked him. Lee Zeldin blocked the guy, grabbed the guy's wrist who was attacking him, and then this guy, Joe Chenley, comes in. And he's got an amazing story, too, because even after all this, he said he still wants to help this guy because the guy who attacked Lee Zeldin, they believe, is a troubled veteran, maybe was on drugs or booze or something. And I'm going to play his comments after the break because you're right. He deserves a lot of credit as well because he toppled the guy. He decked him. I'd hire him as my bodyguard any day.